everyone has a story. And so does everything. Antique, vintage, or curio.
Honestly, so exciting to see a doll like this from the 1800s in such incredible condition.
Like, we've had collections that have sold for, tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Technological innovations, cultural significance, personal memories. What is it that gives each of these unique items their timeless quality?
Can't find these anywhere.
No. Join us as we blow off the dust and breathe new life into the past and the curious. In this episode of The Past and the Curious, we delve into the world of vintage entertainment, classic literature, and early 20th century health devices. Discover the mysterious Renulife Violet Ray Machine.
At the time, Tesla was in an era when you had a snake oil salesman selling a cure for whatever ailed you.
Explore the captivating Zane Grey books.
The more books he sold, the more critics criticized his stories because they said they were too violent and overall misled the true representation of the wild frontier.
Marvel at the vibrant 1912 Sanger Circus poster.
Circuses started to become really popular in America in the early 1900s. They were so popular that in the early 1900s, Sanger brought his show to North America from Europe.
My name is Meredith Halfpenny, and I've brought in a huge circus poster dating to 1912 from Sanger's combined shows that went through Chatham, Ontario.
Step right up, ladies and gentlemen, to behold the legendary 1912 poster of Sanger's Greater European Circus. Behind this vibrant advertisement lies a tale of circus magnates Jerry Mugovan and Bert Bowers, who mastered the art of showmanship through acquisitions of circuses across North America. Their strategic maneuvers landed them in a position to pit their American Circus Corporation against the formidable Ringling Brothers Circus that defined the era. In an age devoid of modern entertainment such as radio and television, circuses like Sanger's were the pinnacle of excitement, drawing crowds far and wide. But the circus world's drama didn't end under the big top. In 1929, Mugovan and Bowers made history by selling their show for $1.7 million to their rival John Ringling, positioning him to have a monopoly on the circus industry.
Hi Meredith, thank you so much for coming in today with this incredible poster. Tell me, what am I looking at?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Bridget. This is a 1912 Sanger's Circus poster. On this date, the circus was in Chatham, Ontario, so that's where this originated from.
Wow, and how did this incredible piece come into your possession?
Believe it or not, this came out of the attic of my uncle's Century home. So he gifted it to me, and I would say that was probably 20 years ago or so. So yeah, in 2020, that's when we finally got it restored, got it framed, and now we can all enjoy it.
I was able to see a picture of this poster before it was restored, and the transformation is absolutely incredible. I'm so glad that Meredith and her family put the work into restoring this because it is exquisite. You can't even tell where it was torn or where there were any issues with it. Why did you bring this in with you today?
Well, I know very little about it, other than knowing what year it was from. So other than knowing the date and that it happened in Chatham, we really know nothing about it. I was curious to hear anything about Sanger's, if we knew anything about the value of a piece like this. If not, that's okay, but I was just curious about that as well, because we really don't know.
Do you know anything about the scope of it?
I believe there was over 500 people involved in the circus, acrobats, animal trainers. They claim to have had the largest trained elephant in the world at this show, and over 100 horses. So the scope of it was massive.
This was a massive show. It was a 10-car circus. It would have been a pretty big deal for Chatham.
Yes, I would say so.
The dark side of circuses at the time was truly the exploitation of people. A lot of times circuses would travel with conjoined twins or anyone who had any sort of physical deformity that they could sell tickets for people to see. Abuse of animals in circuses was so widespread, and that's why you don't see animals at all in circuses nowadays.
Right.
Do you know who would have created this poster?
There is a small watermark for Donaldson Litho Company out of Kentucky. And it seems that they produced quite a few circus posters, but unfortunately, we could not find out who actually created the artwork. It's so beautiful. I wish I knew.
Well, the history of circuses actually go all the way back to ancient Rome. They were primarily a form of public entertainment, and one of the most famous ones was called the Circus Maximus in Rome. They had chariot races, equestrian shows, and even combat. Circuses started to become really popular in America in the early 1900s. They were so popular that in the early 1900s, Sanger brought his show to North America from Europe. They grew to form the American Circus Corporation in 1921 that later was sold to Ringling Brothers.
I've always thought that the visuals of this one were markedly different from the Ringling Brothers and the Barnum and Bailey posters, which mainly featured elephants, clowns, very typical circus stuff. So this one with all the kind of contortionists has always seemed different to me.
You can only imagine without television or internet what a huge level of entertainment this type of show would have brought.
Exactly. The people seeing this show had probably never seen tigers, elephants, acrobats, really any of it. So it would be very fascinating.
The unique aspects to this poster would have just been incredible branding for Sangers and really make them stand out against other circuses that were happening at the time.
Right. I guess people would want to spend their money where they're going to see the most unique and interesting thing.
It really set the standard for the diversity of performances that people would come out to see even in circuses today. As the entertainment industry progressed and you had a lot more TV and film, the portrayal of circuses almost always takes a bit of a darker light. After 100+ years in business, a number of iconic circuses ended up closing, but you still have circuses like Cirque du Soleil still operating and being very successful today. Meredith, thank you so much for coming in today. Can you tell me what is your plan with this piece moving forward?
Well, my plan is just to enjoy it as long as possible in our home and someday pass it on to our daughter for her to display in her home.
Do you think you would ever sell this?
I don't. It's too meaningful and too unique. And while I certainly don't want to sell it, I'm not averse to hearing what somebody would offer for a piece like this.
It's not something you could compare to other items. I know you've been offered $3,000 for it. I think this piece could be valued around $6,000.
Oh my goodness.
Meredith, thank you so much for coming in today and bringing in this absolutely iconic piece of circus history.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share it with you guys and for teaching me so much about it. I really did not know. Thank you. Definitely learning the value of the piece was a shock to me. We didn't expect it to be that high, so it's very nice to hear that piece has such a high value. That we're very pleased to hear that. And just all of the history of circuses was very interesting to hear. It's just things that I did not know.
More remarkable relics after the break.
These two books really depict what it was like in the wild frontier at the time. And one of these books actually was his bestseller.
My name is Lindsay Buchanan, and I brought in 2 Zane Grey novels. So I'm interested in Zane Grey because he writes the Western novels, which are some of the original aspects of the whole Western genre.
In the vast expanse of the American frontier, legends were born and tales spun by the likes of American author Pearl Zane Grey. Against the backdrop of isolation and lawlessness, Grey's stories emerged as a new literary genre, the Western, illuminating the rugged landscapes and daring characters of the untamed West. In the company of early literary giants like James Fenimore Cooper and Washington Irving, Grey's pen painted vivid scenes of cowboys, outlaws, and the indomitable spirit of frontier life. While some critics questioned their literary merit, Grey's novels captured the imagination of readers, offering an escape into a world where heroes thrived and justice triumphed. For those who craved adventure, Grey's words transcended mere entertainment, embodying the essence of America's pioneering spirit.
Thanks for coming in, Lindsay. I see you brought us a couple of interesting books. Can you tell us anything about them?
Yeah, definitely. So both of these are by the author Zane Grey. The first one is The Light of the Western Stars, and the second one is The Riders of the Purple Sage. So these are roughly almost 100 years old. These books did come into possession to me through a flea market. The place that I bought them from, it was very packed with stuff, almost like a hoarder's dream. And I just happened to move some things and I found them with other books, and just they called out to me and I picked them up and brought them home. Is there anything you can tell me about them?
Sure. First of all, the author Zane Grey, he's a prolific writer and he has one of the most notable writers of all time. He was the first author to become a millionaire. This particular book is his bestseller, The Purple Sage, and it is over 100 years old. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't even know these books exist. And then fortunately, even more is they don't know about the writers like Zane Grey. Not only did he write Western novels, he also wrote books on fishing, hunting, and some children's novels as well. But most of his books, and he's known for, were the Western novels. So just to give you a rundown of what these stories are about in a brief summary, this is about 3 people, individuals in a small town that have to deal with the persecution of the townfolk, which were basically Mormons. This book here is based about a woman who moved from the city into the country to the wild frontier where there's mountain ranchers and just her experiences. Sometimes people look at bad things that happen in people's life as being bad, and truly this was bad. His father was very strict, and when he wrote his first story at the age of 15, his father ripped it up and beat him, basically. Now that's a sad story, but you have to kind of think, could that have inspired him and pushed him even harder? He first wrote his first novel in 1903, and he didn't even get picked up for publication. He ended up publishing his book himself. He was born in 1872 and died when he was 67 in 1939, and had over 90 books published for a total of 131 sales in those 90 books. Now, some of those books he wrote himself, 22 were Westerns. The other ones were published after he passed away, and they came from magazines and articles that he wrote over the years, many which were series of magazines. He was born in Ohio, and then he moved to Pennsylvania, but his storytelling mostly came when he moved to Arizona, and that's when the wild frontier, the Western stories came to fruition. He was criticized greatly by critics. The more he became successful, the more books he sold, the more critics criticized his stories because they said they were too violent, his characters were too fanciful, and overall misled the true representation of the wild frontier.
The thing that appeals to me about Westerns is it's a whole different era. You know, there's no cars, there's no technology, you know, a lot of adventure, a lot of you don't know what's going to come tomorrow.
So the wild frontier was kind of coming to an end at that time, but there was still lots of lawlessness and isolation at that time. When these books were coming out in the early 1900s, the Wild West was kind of coming to a close. Many people were moving into the cities, and the people that bought these books that lived in the cities would have no clue what the Wild West was like.
Were books like this popular when they were coming out at this time?
They were actually very popular. You can imagine that there was no such thing as TV, you know what I mean, in most households. So even radios were kind of just coming into their infancy stages. So most people went to books for their entertainment. In fact, at one point, there was only one book sold more than a Zane Grey book, and that would have been the Bible. One of the things that made these books so popular, these stories so popular, is that, again, we're coming to the end of the cowboy era, and these still held that adventure and that imagination that people would hold in their visuals of that era. Zane Grey was really capturing the spirit of the West. Over time, Western novels went from the Zane Grey style into a representation of how the settlers impacted the indigenous people.
Would collectors be looking for something like this?
Absolutely. Collectors are definitely looking for this type of novel. Zane Grey was actually quite a character, and more than just writing his books, he was known as an avid fisherman. And in the fishing industry, he was probably more popular there than he was in the writing industry. So because of the popularity of his books, a lot of his novels became films. In fact, there was over 100 films based on 50 of his novels. So when you see these books displayed like this, how does it make you feel?
It makes me feel in awe how much it's changed over the last 100 or so years.
Thank you, Lindsay, for bringing these amazing books in today. What are the plans for them going forward?
So I have these listed online for sale. What do you think the appraisal would be for them?
So looking at these, I'm going to say they're worth about $10 to $20 a piece.
Okay. I'm gonna still keep them just because of, the history with them and my connection with them.
So these are part of your Western book collection. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. I'm third generation horse trainer in my family. My grandfather, he started me on the Western kick. So he got me into Billy the Kid and other outlaws. And from there, we started collecting anything to deal with Westerns.
One of the things I kind of criticize in a little bit in value is the condition. But when you look at how old these books really are, it's amazing they even survived. And the fact that they're this old really lends to the way people thought of the wild frontier and the wild West at that time. Lindsay, thanks so much for bringing this in today. I really enjoyed looking at them.
Thank you for having me on the show and telling me all about Zane Grey.
You're welcome. I really like these two books. They're just full of character and they've been well used, for sure. But sometimes what's more important in the books and more interesting is the writer themselves.
Our journey through time continues after the break.
The original models were built to last. So as you can see, this is 100 years old and it's still functioning. Name is Victor Starecki, and I brought in an antique Tesla device that was very popular 100 years ago.
In the early 20th century, amid the growing interest in the medical use of experimental energies, the enigmatic Renulife Violet Ray Machine was launched with a promise to cure all. Conceived by the inventive mind of James Henry Eastman, his creation stirred up wonder and speculation in the corridors of scientific inquiry. Harnessing the arcane principles of electrotherapy, this Violet Ray Machine pulsated with the esoteric power of the Nikola Tesla coil, casting an eerie violet glow that danced hypnotically within its glass cylinders. With promises of miraculous healing and rejuvenation, it beckoned the daring and the desperate alike, offering tantalizing glimpses into a realm where science intertwined with pseudo-medicine. As rumors of its capabilities spread like wildfire, the Violet Ray Machine became a coveted artifact of curiosity, for in its glowing depths lay the promise of untold healing powers.
Victor, welcome to the show today. Can you tell me a little bit about what you've brought in for us?
This is called a Tesla Violet Ray. This one machine in particular is about 1916. It is the highest use of a Tesla coil on the planet. There's 2 Tesla coils in this device, one in this part, one in this part. That was the main use for the Tesla coil when he designed it. People know that I'm the main person for restoring them, so they bring them to me. And I either buy them or fix them for them.
Victor, could you share with us your particular interest in Tesla?
Nikola Tesla, I've always been a fan of Tesla. I used to do auctions, antique auctions back in the mid-90s, and this type of equipment was coming through, and I started to like this stuff. And I'm part of a foundation, Nikola Tesla Education Corporation. We're the ones that changed Burlington Street to Tesla Boulevard in Hamilton. Now there's a connection here. Tesla made Hamilton the first city with electricity in Canada. So this kind of spurred my interest in Tesla, and I started acquiring these machines, restoring them for people. Because I can sell a machine that just lights up, but people want them working the way they used to work. So I restore them for those people.
Victor, I see this particular model carries the brand name Renulife. Can you tell me a little bit more about this particular machine and its history?
Well, the Renulife is the most common one out there. You'll find more of this brand than any other brand out there. There's Master as well, which is another big brand. But this Renulife is a very dependable model, and they last a long time.
I would have to call this a deluxe model. And the reason I say that is because it has the full set of instruments with it. These were very fragile. If they were dropped, they were done. The completeness of this, that's the pinnacle for a collector. When this machine surfaced, it was greeted with a certain degree of skepticism. At the time, Tesla was in an era when you had a snake oil salesman selling a cure for whatever ailed you in the local carnival. Can you speak to the use of some of the materials used and where they maybe made improvements?
These wands were made with quartz glass. Tesla believed that the quartz glass had a way of having the right UV lights filtered through to promote healing. And he used a certain color. He used a blue-purple color because he thought that was a healing color, whereas a lot of the new equipment has orange or white lights in it, which isn't considered a chakra color for healing. When you turn the machine on, you can smell ozone right away. The ozone will fill the air. You put it on a room like this, it'll clean up any virus on any surface will die within 10 minutes with the ozone machine. So this is very beneficial just for that.
Fascinating.
The other thing is the early machines did not have a metal tip. It was just glass tip with clamps. So you had to clamp it as you were using it. So there's been a lot of improvements through the years. The original models were built to last. So as you can see, this is 100 years old and it's still functioning. The new ones that we have now, at the esthetician shops, the glass is just plain glass. It's not quartz glass, and it's very, very thin. They're very cheaply made. There's a big difference in the quality and the standards, the way they made them back then and the way they make them now for the public.
Victor, when you look at this marvelous machine, what does it make you feel?
Oh, I'm happy that he put the product out there, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that have had a lot of benefits from this equipment. So until that time, this was the main healing equipment that doctors had, this and natural herbs and tinctures. From 1897 to 1917, it was almost impossible to find a doctor that did not have this equipment in their office in Europe or North America.
In the modern day world, Europe still has applications for the Violet Ray machine. In North America, you see different variations of the machine used in hospitals for disinfection purposes. And it's my understanding that those versions are highly effective. Could you tell me a little bit about what your plans are for it moving forward?
Well, I'll continue rebuilding the equipment. I'm looking for the wall unit. The doctors had one called the Waldorf Violet Ray, and it was about 3 feet by 20 inches wide, hung on a wall. Very massive device. Do you have any idea what you think this would sell for?
Because of the completeness and the fact that this works, you have accompanying paperwork, I believe this could go for potentially as much as $800. I wanted to also mention this particular sign is a reproduction. However, I have seen an original old enamel sign that went for thousands.
I believe you.
Victor, thank you for coming on the show today and sharing your history for Nikola Tesla with us.
Anytime, as long as I can promote Tesla, I'm happy.
I love this particular example of the Violet Ray machine because it was in working condition. To be able to play with a toy like that that's over 125 years old is pretty fantastic.
Well, best thing I could say about Tesla is what Einstein was asked by a reporter, how does it feel like to be the smartest man on planet Earth? And his reply was, I don't know, why don't you ask Nikola Tesla?